Welcome back to Advanced Analytical English C1 C2. I'm Laura, joined as always by Thomas. Today, we're unpacking a scenario that almost everyone experiences at some point, yet few analyze through a communicative lens: the act of asking for help when you've lost something valuable.
Thanks, Laura. It's a deceptively simple topic. On the surface, asking for assistance seems purely instrumental. You've lost an item and you want to locate it. However, from a sociolinguistic perspective, asking for help in a state of distress requires a delicate balance of vulnerability, clarity, and social diplomacy.
Precisely. When we lose an essential item, whether it's a passport at an international airport, a laptop in a corporate venue, or critical documentation before a high-stakes meeting, our cognitive load spikes. The immediate challenge is that personal distress often compromises our ability to communicate with precision.
That brings us to the central tension of today's episode. How do we articulate an urgent request for help without allowing panic to derail our clarity? And how do we navigate the social dynamics of seeking assistance from strangers, staff, or colleagues?
To establish some context, let's consider why this interaction is so complex. Asking for help inherently places the speaker in a position of temporary disadvantage. In pragmatics, this touches on politeness theory specifically, how a request can impose upon the listener's time and agency.
Absolutely. You're asking someone to interrupt their routine to attend to your crisis. If you appear overly frantic, you risk confusing the person who is in a position to help. Conversely, if you sound entirely indifferent, they may not grasp the urgency of the situation.
That balance is critical. Let's explore the primary perspective on handling this situation effectively: the direct, informative approach. Proponents of this style argue that when an item is missing, transactional clarity must take precedence over emotional expression.
Right. The logic here is that giving a clear, structured description, specifying timeframes, precise locations, and distinctive characteristics yields the highest probability of recovery. If I tell a lost and found officer, I lost my bag somewhere nearby, I give them virtually nothing to work with. If I say I mislaid a dark green leather briefcase near gate 14 approximately 20 minutes ago, the actionable information is immediate.
That seems logical. But let me introduce a counter-argument or challenge to that approach. While transactional clarity is essential, relying purely on clinical, precise descriptions can sometimes backfire if it overlooks the human element of cooperation.
How so?
If a request sounds like a demand or an interrogation, the listener might react defensively, especially if they are customer service personnel who frequently deal with anxious or irritable people. A purely transactional tone can inadvertently sound cold or demanding, potentially diminishing the listener's empathy and willingness to go out of their way to assist.
That's a fair counterpoint. So it isn't just about conveying factual data. It's about establishing a cooperative rapport under time pressure. This brings us to a crucial distinction: the difference between being assertive and being demanding when seeking help.
That distinction is paramount. Assertiveness involves clearly stating your need and advocating for a resolution while maintaining respect for the other person's boundaries and authority. Being demanding, on the other hand, implies an entitlement to immediate assistance, often shifting the responsibility of your loss onto the person you're asking.
Exactly. Assertiveness sounds like, I would really appreciate any guidance you can offer on lost property procedures. Demanding sounds like, someone needs to check the security footage right now. One invites collaboration, the other invites resistance.
Let's examine a realistic scenario to see how this plays out in practice. Imagine a professional named Marcus attending an international industry conference. Right before he is scheduled to present, he realizes he has misplaced a flash drive containing non-backed up confidential files.
That is a high-stress scenario. Marcus has two choices in how he approaches the venue staff. Option A: he runs up to the information desk, visibly distressed, shouting about how critical the presentation is and asking if anyone has seen a small black USB stick.
Option B: he takes a brief breath to compose himself, approaches the desk, acknowledges the staff member's presence, and says, "Excuse me, I'm in a bit of a difficult situation. I appear to have misplaced a black flash drive near the main auditorium about 15 minutes ago. Could you advise me on the standard protocol for lost items here?
The contrast is stark. Option B acknowledges the disruption, provides essential details, and respects the staff member's administrative process. By frame-shifting the problem into a collaborative effort, Marcus significantly improves his chances of receiving active assistance rather than a generic brush-off.
Notice as well the phrasing Marcus used. I appear to have misplaced, rather than someone took or I lost. That subtle linguistic choice leads us directly into our language focus for today.
Let's unpack some of the advanced vocabulary and communicative strategies used when navigating these situations diplomatically. The first phrase worth noting is to mislay versus to lose. While they are often treated as synonyms, mislay subtle implies that the item is temporarily misplaced due to forgetfulness, whereas lose can imply a permanent state or greater negligence.
Another useful expression is to leverage assistance. In a professional context, you aren't just asking for a favor, you are leveraging available systems like facility security, concierge service, or lost and found protocols to resolve an issue.
We also saw the phrase, I would be exceptionally grateful if. This serves as an elegant framing device. It functions as a polite, conditional request that elevates the register and softens the imposition on the hearer.
Consider also the phrase, to trace one's steps. When explaining the situation to someone helping you, stating, I've attempted to trace my steps back to the reception area, demonstrates that you have already exercised due diligence before seeking their intervention.
That shows accountability. It signals to the listener that you aren't simply dumping your problem on them, but rather asking them to help you bridge the remaining gap.
Another powerful analytical phrase is under the circumstances. For instance, under the circumstances, any assistance you could provide would be deeply appreciated. This acknowledges the complexity or difficulty of the current moment without resorting to emotional hyperbole.
Exactly. And let's not overlook the phrase to enlist someone's help. Rather than saying, I asked him for help, saying, I needed to enlist the assistance of the site manager carries a much more professional and strategic connotation, appropriate for higher-level discourse.
These linguistic nuances matter immensely, especially when long-term professional relationships or high-value items are at stake. This brings us to the deeper implications of how we handle loss and requests for aid.
Beyond the immediate recovery of an object, how an individual handles a crisis such as losing critical materials serves as an implicit signal of their composure and emotional intelligence. In executive environments, panicking or shifting blame onto support staff during a loss can permanently damage one's professional reputation.
Indeed, it highlights a broader social dynamic. Requesting help is not merely an operational task, it is an exercise in impression management. Maintaining composure under stress signals resilience, executive function, and respect for organizational hierarchies.
Now, let's transition into our advanced speaking practice. We're going to walk through several communicative prompts designed to help you construct balanced, diplomatic, and precise requests when asking for help in difficult situations.
Prompt 1. How would you politely interrupt a busy professional or staff member to report a missing item without sounding entitled?
A strong model response would be, Excuse me, I apologize for interrupting, but I find myself in a somewhat urgent situation. I seem to have left a blue document folder in the conference room, and I would be extremely grateful if you could direct me to the lost property point.
Excellent. Notice how the apology for the interruption softens the intrusion while clearly stating the core issue. Prompt 2. How can you ask someone to check a restricted area for your lost item while acknowledging their rules?
You could say, I completely understand that access to the control room is restricted. However, is there any possibility a staff member could briefly check whether a gray tablet was left near the main console?
Perfect. That validates their operational constraints before making the request. Prompt 3. How do you diplomatically ask a colleague if they might have accidentally taken your possession?
A balanced model response is, I'm currently trying to locate the project ledger from yesterday. Is it possible it was inadvertently grouped with your meeting files when we cleared the table?
Notice the use of inadvertently grouped instead of did you take it? It completely removes personal accusation while allowing the person a graceful way to check their belongings. Prompt 4. How would you follow up on a lost item request when you haven't received an update?
You might say, I'm writing to briefly follow up on my inquiry regarding the missing briefcase reported on Tuesday. I wanted to check if there have been any developments, or if there is any additional information I can provide to assist the search.
Professional, clear, and non-confrontational. Prompt 5. How do you express gratitude to someone who spent significant time helping you search, even if the item wasn't found?
A model response? While the item hasn't turned up yet, I sincerely appreciate the extensive effort you put into searching the facility. Your support during a stressful situation was truly invaluable.
That preserves the professional relationship regardless of the physical outcome. Now, let's explore how these strategies translate into practical workplace applications.
In everyday professional interactions, these techniques can be integrated into emails, immediate verbal requests, or formal security reports. For instance, when drafting an email to venue operations about a lost item, structuring the message with bulleted descriptions of the item, an exact timeline, and a clear call to action creates an efficient, easy-to-read request.
Similarly, in a live context, using hedging language such as, "It is quite possible I left it elsewhere," but prevents you from making definitive claims that might later prove incorrect, protecting your credibility.
Synthesizing today's discussion, asking for help when something is lost is fundamentally an exercise in strategic communication. It requires balancing the urgent need for action with a measured, polite demeanor that encourages assistance.
We've established that transactional clarity must be paired with interpersonal tact. Succumbing to panic often leads to ambiguous explanations or demanding behavior, both of which reduce the likelihood of a successful resolution.
By employing precise language, framing requests around mutual cooperation, and respecting the boundaries of those we ask for help, we convert a chaotic crisis into a structured, problem-solving interaction.
Before we wrap up today's episode, here is a final reflective question for you to consider. The next time you find yourself in a high-stress situation involving misplaced items or unexpected setbacks, how will you adjust your language to Project Composure while still securing the help you need?
Navigating loss with grace and precision is a true hallmark of advanced language mastery. It requires practice, self-awareness, and a refined command of communicative nuance.
Thank you for joining us on Advanced Analytical English C1 C2. Keep analyzing your language, refining your delivery, and engaging critically with complex communication.
Until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.